It's here, Andy. It's here. Happy Monday, boys and girls. You've gathered from all over the country, all over the world. You've been waiting for this moment.
A global audience of dozens.
A global phenomenon.
This moment right now.
It's the Morning After Ministry show where each and every week Andrew just says random things and tries to cut me off while I'm telling stories. That's pretty much the gist.
That explains our friendship.
It's the gist of the show. It's fun. We've got a lot to talk about, Andy.
Tim, we were both preaching in the same book of the Bible yesterday, and
Rarely
we
does that
didn't even
happen.
talk about it beforehand. We'll get into it because yesterday was Sunday.
And this is the Morning After.
Welcome to the Morning After Ministry Show, a caffeine-fueled look back on the week and ministry that was.
Nice. Thanks, everybody.
Live
Timmy,
studio audience. It's great.
Something that struck me as we were getting ready to do this, you've spent years having time at the beginning of a school year than the normal family because of where your kids went to school.
It's very different now.
And you guys are no longer starting after everybody else. So what are you doing with the homeschool 2 compared to the 3 high schoolers you have? Also, you've got 3 high schoolers this year. You're old.
I've got 3 high schoolers. I've got a senior. I've got 2 freshmen. I've got a middle schooler in Lucy and a 4th grader. And you're right. For a long time, it was, you guys are back at school. So we actually saved all of our Disney
time.
time.
At the beginning of August, and so you could just go till Labor Day.
We did. Our family vacations used to be mid to late August. We strategically planned it when everybody was back in school. We would vacation because it was awesome. We can't do it anymore.
And cheaper.
It was cheaper. So no longer does that exist. So everyone's back in school next week. Our homeschoolers are not going to be far behind them. Lucy is going to be attempting Liberty University online this year for their middle school program, so she's excited about that.
I'm a big fan.
Steph's going to do her thing with 4th grade.
Shirt.
You should.
I think she'd get a kick out of that. She doesn't know me as well as your older 3, so
she'd still love it.
Yeah.
You still need to have a conversation with my eldest because we're locked in. We're going to Liberty in November
for a weekend.
We're doing college for a weekend. It's going to happen.
So I thought you guys were doing the college for a weekend in September.
Well, football. Our football schedule here, we can't.
Okay.
Right.
But November's prettier.
It is.
September is still sticky hot there. And so by November, you'll have all the fall colors.
That'll be sweet.
The Blue Ridge Mountains. Oh, I love it. I think that'll be very exciting.
It's going to be fun.
Is there a football game that weekend? Because it's still early November, right?
It's still very much college football season. I need to look and see. But what are the Larsons doing? You've got quite a few in different settings. We
have boys at 3 different schools this year. Oof. But if you count Liberty University Online Academy, which we have my sophomore is starting college classes this year, which is exciting and terrifying.
Wow.
And then we have 1 public school high schooler. My wife she's there today doing all the teacher in-service stuff because she is in a full-time classroom again this year, but she is at a new elementary school. She is at a school called New Heights Elementary, which is in St. Petersburg, Florida, which means that our 2 younger boys are together at the same Christian school about a mile from the house. So we have boys at 3 different schools, and my wife is at a school that none of my kids are at, and I'm teaching a full course load as well. So we are just a family of education and educators. It's what we do. It's very exciting. And tonight, Tim, I didn't even include this in the show notes. CJ, what's going on?
He's just trying to figure out why Andrew didn't lose his tarp.
I didn't lose my tarp because I told my son that I would go to the tarps off section of the Rays game yesterday and swing my shirt around my head if we got the game within 2 runs, and we never did.
When I saw the score and I saw your son, I'm telling your son he cannot take his shirt off again. Not until something changes.
He took his shirt off when we were down 5-0. So it was It was not close, but he wanted to make sure he got there and got his shirt off. But it was so he does the Reading with
JC,
the Rays program every summer.
Go Colts? No.
That's an
No,
odd statement.
Stop. Very odd. Very odd.
But so he got tickets because of the reading that he had done this year, but it was also a book drive game where they were giving away tickets for people bringing in books. So we got tickets for a later game as well. So we'll have all the boys at a game in September. So we might have 5 shirtless Larsons. We'll see. Do you know what? My second child, who ironically is in the best shape of the 4 boys, is not going to take his shirt off in public. That's just not him. He would not be into that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens at the September game that the whole family's going to. Timmy, one thing I didn't put in our notes is when you're talking about me talking with Emily, I am meeting with the recently graduated class of Lakeview seniors. They're doing their last get together before some of them go off to college. And Todd, your youth pastor, asked if I could come up and talk with students just about some college particulars from the professor side of things. So I'm doing that tonight.
Where? I didn't know this was happening.
Well, Tim, you're such a big church, you don't even know all the goings on.
Apparently.
But the Lakeview seniors are meeting at Lakeview before going to dinner together at Kobe Steakhouse.
Ooh.
And I am just giving them a few practical tips to get
Stephanie,
started.
It's not just in a public setting. It's typically in a sports setting that the game might be happening in public. Yes, if it helps my team win, I'm all in.
If you can cheer your team on by swinging a shirt around your head, there's nothing that excites Timothy Miller more.
Rick says Tim has to have a tarps on section at the Jags game.
Look, we're lucky that Lakeview is a tarps on section at this point for Tim. So, well,
okay, the conference was different. We had a free T-shirt giveaway. That was a long story. That was just different.
Speaking of the Practically Pastoring Conference, it was discussed today. That's all the spoilers.
It might have been whispered
all
about.
The spoilers
it might have been whispered about
to share. But there might be a reason that we're starting this show not right at 11 this morning, because we were a conference call regarding a certain Practically Pastoring conference that may or may not be returning to Tarpon Springs, Florida in February of 2027. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying any more.
Andrew,
but it probably will not be President's Day weekend this year because
JC says, I would take my shirt off. It just looks like a pillowcase with light bulbs in it. It's happening, JC. Jerry, we've missed you so much. He says, when it's just the two of you without audio, why are you watching without audio? It looks like a guy discussing insurance with a guy who owns a gym who needs insurance. Oh, they're feeling it today. We are feeling it today. So, Andrew, give me what words of wisdom are you imparting on our Lakeview grads?
We're talking about getting credits where you can. One of my passions is convincing people that they don't need to spend 4 years of tuition on an undergraduate degree, especially if they are planning on an advanced degree, or if you want to spend 2 years of tuition, find a way to backdoor yourself. One of the things that I love about Liberty for undergrads is that they are so flexible with transfer credits. And so if you can pay for 30 credit hours, but earn a 120-hour degree, well, then you can go ahead and get that master's degree in that specialized field and set yourself up sooner than your classmates for less money than have a better resume for less money in a shorter amount of time seems to be a no-brainer to me. But and then I'm going to show them a few examples of some papers that I grade and say, this person's content is just as good, but because their formatting sucks, I assume that they don't know how to be a good student. So pay attention to the required formatting.
Wow.
It is the English teacher of it all. It's almost like I would say I'm an English teacher with a theology-focused doctorate, but so much of the grading that I do is not based on someone's theological content. It's about knowing that their content is not taken as seriously as it could or should be because their formatting is not up to par. So get your formatting right.
Get it right.
And save all the money you can.
You can learn a lot, especially if you come to the next PPCon. City Lights says, I need to make the next PPCon. City Lights, you absolutely should. You can bring the whole church. Steph says, let's be honest, you were the guy whose band was known as the band with the drummer who ripped off his shirt while playing. All the girlies were all about it. I wouldn't say all the girlies. I mean, Steph, we're married now.
Stephanie Miller was about it back in the day.
You were all about it, and I landed you, and here we are. So you're welcome. All these years,
and yet
all these years later,
continues to come off, Tim. It happens.
Jared says, morning, fellas. I got a fun, sarcastically speaking, here we go, question this morning, if you have time for it. Well, we're reading it right now, Jared, so let's go. I have to move someone away from one ministry to another. And this has been a conversation I've had before with former pastors, and they were failed attempts. What advice could you give this conversation? If more context is needed, I can give it. Andrew?
I think if you can give more context without putting somebody on blast, that would be helpful. But I had a season where I had to, for the sake of the ministry, remove a youth ministry volunteer. And it was a thing where it was he was getting way more than he was giving in the youth ministry. Like, a certain amount of his personal value and stuff was connected to a small group that he was leading. It just wasn't healthy. And so we said to him, hey, this isn't healthy for this season. And if you want to keep serving, we want you to keep serving. We have other roles for you. And AKA my children's pastor says, how do you feel about parking lot ministry? For this particular volunteer, we were in an expansion stage of the church. We were blasting out a wall in our worship center to add some more seating and some more space. And so there was a season where we were meeting in a gym. There was a gymnasium connected to this church that we could move the entire church into, but that meant that we were setting up and tearing down a stage each and every week, and audio became a different beast. And so it was hey, we want to train you on some other things for future youth ministry skill sets in the future. And for this season to demonstrate that you are capable of listening to the reproach that we have for you. We don't want you to be in children's or in youth ministry. We want you to serve the tech team in this way. And he took it like a champ, became the best tech team volunteer. And then a year later, they got really mad when he told them that he was going back to youth ministry full time. So I think you come out and give someone the honest reason, whether it be skill set or just the way that they are impacting the ministry. And if you care about this ministry, you would not want to make this impact on it. So serve elsewhere for a season. And if you're teachable, you are welcome to come back.
We recently hired a new pastor of worship and discipleship, and he's been using a phrase a lot lately.
That guy.
I have thought of this phrase quite a bit, and it's really applicable here too. He says, clarity is kindness, or kindness is clarity. So the clearer you can be here, I think that's the kinder you can be. I wouldn't be like, I don't know. I would don't like make something up or skirt around it. Just be really direct. Be very clear, especially if sounds like there might be some expectations in this role that weren't being hit. Maybe you weren't clear about those expectations. Maybe you were, and they're still not being hit. So be clear, lay out the expectations. This is why we would love for you to serve elsewhere for a season or not, etc. Jared says, we have a person behind our computer that needs to not be behind the computer. Got it. Every recent attempt to get them out from behind it has failed. It's bad. We use tracks, we play, and we sing too. And we've had songs start over in the middle of service. So, Jared, this is very different than what happened at Lakeview last week, where I am very rarely given too much power. But we were doing a presentation in the church, and I said, hey, can I get a remote? Because I want to be able to just click through the slides.
Oh, I love me a clicker.
Jared,
I did something every week.
I did something very bad. After the first service, I put the clicker in my pocket, my rear pocket. I forgot to turn the clicker off. So the next service starts, second service last week. We're in the middle of the countdown video. The band isn't even set yet. Chris is like still putting his in-ears in. There's a minute left on the clock, and I sit down, and boom, it goes to the first slide of the song. Like before the countdown video ends, before the band is set, the music is still upbeat, and boom, it cuts off. Chris is just standing there like deer in headlights. Everyone's looking at the tech team. I feel awful. I don't even know yet. I'm sorry, I don't even know yet. We're all looking at the tech team. I lean a certain way on my left glute, and it clicks back to the countdown video.
I believe you meant butt cheek.
And that's when I realized every time I move my butt, the presentation of the church is also moving with my left
Every
cheek.
move I make with my butt. No, that's not how that song goes.
So, Andrew, I had to do a full confession. I got up to preach. I before I started, I showed everyone what happened. I said, please do not blame the tech team. I'm gonna fall on this grenade. This was me. This was on me. So, Jerry.
And that's why
Jared
everybody calls Pastor Tim the butt clicker.
So when Jared says we have someone behind our computer that doesn't need to be there, I get it. I feel that. You need to be kind, but clarity is going to be key here. And if it's causing any sort of distraction in the service, that's a major issue, right? Like a major issue.
Make them watch
Pete
the
is
live
convinced.
stream playback.
Pete is convinced. I didn't want to hear his joke. Pete's been doing some of our announcements during the countdown video. Pete, it was a great joke. I just don't know that I need to hear anything about tickling in a Sunday morning service, Pete.
That's weird. That's weird. Timmy,
Steph says my left glute. It was my left glute.
We,
Laura says trousers off section. What is that? JC's got a new t-shirt idea. Join the tech team if an A can do it. And by A, there are 2 asterisks, which is true. Mine was able to on accident.
So easy. Tim's butt could do it.
And here's a great best practice for the next person running the computer, Jared. Lyric slide advances on the last word of the current slide, not the first word of the next slide. That's really important. Really important.
Timmy, we were both in Exodus yesterday.
Jerry says, I'm just glad my left glute wasn't involved in the sloppy wet kiss argument. All right, we're done with this. We're moving on. Glutes are gone. Andrew, we were both in Exodus. We were Exodus 19, 25 verses. I don't normally do that. Exodus 19,
I spent quite a bit of time in Exodus 19.
Exodus 19 is the setup for the 10 Commandments. Like, you cannot preach 10 Commandments
Exodus 19 is the setup for the Mosaic Covenant,
yes,
which is the setup for the Old Testament.
It's everything changes after Exodus 19.
I would say Exodus 19, I would say Genesis 12, Exodus 19, Deuteronomy 28 are the 3 chapters most essential for understanding the context of the Old Testament.
Wow.
So
I should have used that line. I might next week. Thank you. That's really good.
We are going through all of the major covenants instead of going through a book of the Bible in 3 years, whatever you guys are doing in Exodus, taking a very, very long time.
Steph said we can now rename the episode. Andrew, you know what we're doing. We're verse by verse, book by book. That's how we roll.
I know.
You know exactly what we're doing in Exodus.
So we are going 8 weeks through every major covenant in the Bible.
Love it.
But then when this series ends, we are then spending 10 weeks in Romans chapter 8. So we are going
That's
very,
a biggie.
very
That's a biggie.
muy rapido through the entire text of Scripture. And then we are going very slowly through Romans 8. And it might help that our friend Adam Powers wrote a book called The Highest Peak, based on 10 sermons in Romans chapter 8 that we are adapting. So you should definitely check that out on Amazon if you're looking for a 10-week sermon series written by someone way smarter than either of us. So we are adapting that to our context. But so it's just kind of funny because we're spending 8 weeks trying to go through the tagline that I accidentally stumbled upon that we keep going back to is, it's one thing to know Bible stories. It's another thing to know the story of the Bible. And so we are trying to do the full narrative in one 8-week series before we then zoom into specific sections of Scripture. And so we'll go back to books it's crazy. We had an elders meeting on Thursday and I was like, we've got pretty much the rest of the calendar year figured out through Advent, and
That feels good, right?
it feels really good to not
a nice
wonder
feeling.
what you're preaching.
Yep. Totally agree.
I
Totally agree.
missed CJ's comment, something about glutes and butts. I don't know.
I just like throwing them up while you're talking to see if you'll read them. Some of us have glutes and some of us are just butts. I mean,
That's very true. It's very, very true.
Andrew, we were both in Exodus yesterday.
How many weeks into Exodus are you? Because you had
35, 36, 37.
You haven't preached in series in a while because you were gone, and then last week was the Vision Sunday where you guys were not in Exodus.
It felt so good to be back. Yesterday was Sunday, 34. Exodus week 34.
Yes.
We will wrap up Exodus at the end of November, which everyone's like, how are we going to do that? Well, I gave you a taste of that yesterday. We covered 25 verses. There's going to be, especially when we get to some of the temple stuff, it's going to be not just 25 verses, but like 3 chapters at one time, because first of all, it's the tabernacle, not the temple. Second of all, you can fly through those. The tabernacle stuff is so repetitive. Like, we're good. Like you don't, yeah. Like I can
repetitive and redundant and repetitive. That was a Gilmore Girls reference.
I think it was back and back. So that becomes a big chunk of the second half of Exodus. So yeah, we'll slow down a little bit for the 10 Commandments. I think we're doing 3 or 4 weeks on the 10 Commandments, but then it's like pedal to the metal, full steam. We'll plow through the rest of all things Exodus. But Andy, we got to do something really fun yesterday that we've actually done quite a bit more of this year at Lakeview than we ever have before. We had another Baptism Sunday. It's been
I love it. I saw
really
the pictures.
sweet.
They look good.
We've just been scheduling them out quarterly, or we'll add as needed. And every time we schedule these things out, people are like, yeah, I'm ready. Yes, I want to get baptized. Now, we still have the request for some off-site baptisms from time to time, but there's just something really special about having your church family there. Everyone's cheering you on, especially when, like yesterday, there was a couple that's been coming to Lakeview for years, and they're awesome, and they wanted to get baptized together. And there's another young couple that I just got to marry. I did their wedding a couple months ago, so that was really sweet too. So we had a blast. We do baptisms outside. You know this. We have the space for it. It was a little rainy, which was kind of cool. So it was like a light rain baptism.
It was a lot rainy yesterday.
But it stopped raining right when we got outside. So that was pretty cool.
Okay.
So we were able to do the baptism.
My question for you.
We had a drone flying for the first time. So that made me nervous, but the rain did stop, which was cool. So I can't wait to see the footage. Hopefully that'll be ready soon.
So was it after last service? Is it in between services?
After third service.
Do you rotate when it is?
Nope. It's always after third service because you never know how long it's going to take. People have to change. Yeah. It's a whole ordeal.
That was my question, was like, if it was in between services, do you have to get wet clothes and then
I would have to change and then rechange. We don't have the time. Like we don't have the time for it. So I invite first and second service, hey, if you're available, come on back, which, none of them really do. So I told our tech team, our video team this week, film it, not like we're just doing social media posts, but film it 16:9. That way we can utilize it next week in service. So
share it Sunday.
Exactly. So we're gonna share the highlights of Baptism Sunday, specifically with first and second service, since they probably weren't able to be a part of it.
So service lets out, everybody goes outside. What percentage of people stick around, and what percentage of people are driving away?
I'd say,
going to pick up kids from kids ministry or whatever.
We give everyone enough time to get their kids, so it's always 5 to 10 minutes after the service is out.
Because again, you've got to change.
I've got to change. They've got to get kids. So kids are watching, families are watching. I'd say 60 to 70% of the people stick around. That's probably a fair number. It's a great chunk of people. And because it's outside, we do it in the middle of the courtyard, and it's kind of like a 360 environment, so people can just stand all around the baptismal, and it's sweet. Like it was a ton of fun. It was a good Sunday. Now,
very cool.
I'm not opposed to the in-service baptism moments too. Like I've been a part of those in my time at Lakeview, and those have been super special.
Did you move the baptistry that you guys had outside?
Yeah,
Or is
it's
this a
portable.
different baptism? Okay.
No, it's portable.
Okay.
So it's a giant puzzle. It's very easy. Our team can do it in less than an hour. So he just comes and does it on Friday, fills it up on Saturday. We put the heater in overnight. So by Sunday, the water's feeling beautiful. Jerry, he says we had 10. This is crazy. We had 10 spontaneous baptisms last night at a worship gathering of young people in our area. That I love everything about. CJ's wondering if we're going to have a permanent baptistry. That's not been in the conversation. I think we like the portable one. It gives us the freedom to move it around if we want to go inside, we want to go outside. We have the property for this, so it's kind of sweet being able to mix it up. In the perfect world, I want to baptize in the lake at Lakeview. I think that would be so cool. But it's Florida.
Tim,
there's alligators. There's amoebas.
This is what you need to listen to me. Now, the amoebas I can't help you with, but you could, for a few dump trucks full of sand and crushed gravel, or crushed shell, you could do so much on that lake.
Listen to this, though. This is a cool idea. Jerry says next month.
Launch area.
Oh, that'd be so sweet. We're trying a new thing, 9 a.m. service. That's our normal one. But the 10:45 is going to be outside. The weather will probably be good for it up where Jerry is. And focused on baptisms. And then, Andrew, your favorite part, a meal together.
We eat together each and every week. Timmy,
I love that.
We had some visitors yesterday, which was Sunday, and they all stuck around after church, which was very good. Because I always say that is what we do best. If you find 100 churches similar to us in size, with size and resources, our preaching might be in the top 25. No, I'm saying our preaching might be in the top 75%. So we're somewhere towards the middle when it comes to the skill of the preacher. Our worship might be in the top 10%. Our band is pretty good, especially for a little church. But nobody on the planet eats the way that we do each and every week after church. And so I left to go to the Rays game with my kid after an hour of being in the fellowship hall, and there were still 5 or 6 tables full of people hanging out, eating together. So I think churches that eat together, that's the sweet spot right there. So Jerry, I love
Laura
that
says,
idea.
I grew up in a church with an elevated baptistry. It was behind the choir loft. I did as well. It was a great place to hide in a game of night watchman, unless it wasn't empty. That would be the only tricky part.
Well, then if you had a snorkel, then you could hide in there. But also, it's a great storage space if you can just throw stuff in there. Because if you're only using it a couple times a year, you can fit all kinds of stuff in that giant bathtub. My pastor at Westerville Bible Church, when I was in elementary school, he was super old, probably in his 80s, and he went in. You have the waders that you could still wear your full suit while you're baptizing people. So the zip up, waterproof clothes. He went in there, and there was a hole in his waders, and they filled up while he was there. And again, he was an older guy, probably with some osteoporosis, and he could not get out. He could not lift his leg to get onto the next step because it was so heavy. So he had to finish the service with benediction and everything from inside the baptistry, and then his wife had to go cut him out of the waders and find a pair of pants for him to change into.
This is glorious. I love everything about this story.
Have you seen churches that they have a trapdoor in the stage with pulley systems? And so then there's a giant in-ground swimming pool that's the baptistry under the stage. I love that one too.
I guess we could maybe build that into the next plans. Jared says the first church I pastored, we baptized 8 in a pond in January. We had a gator watching us the whole time. It was Florida. He says it's rural Florida, so we had protection if it got close enough. And rural Florida, we get your gist. We know what you're saying there. I love this. Jerry's he's just a wealth of knowledge today. Maybe one episode you extend the show and it includes lunch with you guys. Set the camera on the table at the restaurant. Jerry, funny enough, Andrew and I's original idea. This is how it started.
This show started.
Andrew, give the origin story and then tell them what we were going to name the show.
I was watching Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, the Jerry Seinfeld show that was on YouTube and then Netflix, and it was just him having coffee with other comedians. And I said, Tim, wouldn't it be great if we could do pastors eating pancakes and just go to lunch and talk with pastors about stuff? And this was before, we're both using our iPhones as our webcams today. That wasn't an option back then. And so it was could we record on phones and use the built-in microphone on the, Apple headphones and put that in the middle? What would pick up? What could we do to not have a camera or a camera crew? And we eventually stumbled upon this. But the original idea for this show was we would be drinking coffee eating pancakes, talking about ministry with random pastors. And I still think it is a great idea for a show. And it's more possible now than ever before because
Jerry,
we all travel
you could steal
everywhere we go with, especially now, Tim, with our USB lapel mics that we have.
So easy.
I wonder, because both
the tech just didn't exist back then.
The camera switching would be tricky. We would have to figure out a way if we could set it up to use multiple iPhones, but we have the mics. We would need a way to have a 2 or a 3 mic setup so that you and I could have one, and then we could have a rotating guest each and every week. So does JBL or anybody make the like, or was it like the DJI mics? If there was a 3 mic set of those, that would be perfect. That and somehow video switching between phones. I wonder if someone had 2 iPhones on their Apple ID, because that's how our computers recognize our phone because of our Apple ID. I wonder if someone had 2 iPhones on an Apple ID, if eCam would allow you to switch between those 2 cams, because that could be the sweet spot right there.
Oh, we could totally do it. We could also just send out as many guest links as we want, and we could do it like the guest link way, like just like you and I do.
I know, but the idea of being at a diner, I think of going to Lenny's down the street.
I'm with you.
And
I'm saying you could utilize the
editing.
guest. You could utilize the guest link even if we're in the same room. Like you could technically do that.
That's true.
Jerry loves the idea, so he's in. We've got our first sponsor. Thank you, Jerry.
We're going up to Virginia, and we're going to find a diner and have some pancakes with Jerry. It's going to be great.
He's backing this idea. I love everything about it. Andrew, it's also it's back to school season, which means our calendars are filling up. How are you feeling? Are you feeling the weight of everything right now, or do you still have some breathing room?
It's busy, and it's busier because last year my wife was not teaching in a full-time classroom. This year she is. And so I'm the one doing all the orientation. I'm going to a Dunedin High School bowling team meeting today because I've got a kid who wants to bowl with his friends from school.
I love bowling. I love that.
I'm going to a bowling team meeting this afternoon, and then I've got all the different orientations and stuff to go to because my wife is in service week when they have the meet the teacher at my kids' schools is when she's required to be at her school for her meet the teacher as well. So I'm doing all of the back to school parent things. So it's the joy of 2 working parents, and one of them being a full-time educator is sometimes you get dad. So there's a lot going on with that. I know you guys are doing the sports thing and all the stuff. Is it weird that your kid who drives is not the one who is doing the fall sports at the school? So you can't even expect her to get siblings there and back.
She will get them there. So that's the agreement. So
yes, in the morning,
yes, they will all ride to school in the morning. But you're right. She will need to come home, get ready for work. She's my world's most famous Chick-fil-A employee. Steph says, our calendar gives me anxiety, yet I'm still over here joining new book clubs. That is true. Stephanie loves to read. She's in a few area book clubs. So ladies, if you're interested, we've got a few up here this way that you could join. You don't even want to see, our calendar is color-coded between Lakeview, Calvary, work, sport. It's very obnoxious if you were to see our family calendar. There's literally 9 to 12 items on it every single day, all month long. It's a lot.
That gives me anxiety. That's why my calendar just exists up here, which gives my wife anxiety that I don't write anything down.
I can't imagine
I know
functioning
where I'm supposed to be
in a world like that, Andrew. That's terrifying. And
when I drop the ball and don't show up someplace I'm supposed to be, then I'll start doing something else. But until then, there have been things where I'm a half an hour out. I'm like, oh, stink, I'm supposed to be somewhere. But in general, I know that this afternoon I've got a bowling team meeting, and then I'm meeting with the Lakeview seniors. And so I've got both of those things written down in my head. Now, my wife was frustrated last night because she didn't remember that I had made the commitment to the Lakeview seniors. And I was like, but I told you about this. And she's like, yes, you told me one time 2 weeks ago.
But it's not written down on the family calendar.
She keeps a paper calendar. So we have a calendar on our refrigerator that has all of the things.
Oh, we have a chalkboard calendar that matches our digital calendar. It's redone every month.
So August. Like work.
Steph and the girls, they tag team it. It looks awesome.
Timmy, I know we talk about this from time to time, but this week was also Communion Sunday. We we did communion during our July 4th weekend, so I think it was the 6th was Sunday, and we were in the fellowship hall, so we passed plates around the tables. We didn't have that was a less typical communion for us.
So you didn't have your Jesus Lunchables?
Well, we never have Jesus Lunchables like you guys do. But I was wondering this morning as we were kind of putting together some of the ideas for the show is how I know you guys use the weird rice wafers in the purple water that may or may not have any grape in them. But do you just pass those out when people are coming in? Is that how that works? Just whatever ushers that you have or greeters?
So
is that
all of our so First Impressions team, they're door greeters. So all of our door greeters have a giant bucket of them. So they make sure everyone gets hit on the way in. And then before we actually start communion, I'll say, usually I forgot during one service, but I remember during 2 services yesterday, I'll say something like, hey, if you didn't get the elements on your way in, slip up your hand. We'll bring those to you right now. And so while their hand is up and I'm, doing my reading before we actually administer communion, our ushers will come down and they will pass out communion to anyone who wasn't able to get one on the way in. But usually, they've got them on the way in. Steph says, no. Not sharing a digital calendar is how people literally die. I would literally die. I tend to agree.
Go to a class or a workshop or something so that we can get it figured out. But that's just, we've made it this far. We have made it this far without it. So when in your service do you guys do communion?
Always at the end.
Change up,
so
or
it's
is it
always
the same month to month?
First Sunday of every month, always at the end of the service, and I always build a bridge from the sermon to communion. And it doesn't matter what the text is; it always fits. Like, I don't know if that's just the Lord or if that's just the way the Bible was written, but no matter what we're covering, somehow it is very easy to go from sermon application. Exodus 19 was very simple, and then you're always making
And there's so many tiebacks to the Passover in Exodus 19.
You're making a beeline to the cross. We spend some time in corporate prayer. So then usually, coming out of that corporate prayer, we'll then go right into communion. Jerry says, not starting a fight, but what's your take on weekly communion, like every service? I'm fine with it.
Both of us cut our teeth at a church that does weekly communion. I would be thrilled with it. Jeffrey Simpson, who we do the Practically Pastoring podcast with, he does communion every week.
We're planting a church, Crossing Crown Church, and Pastor Frank is going to be doing weekly communion. I've got no issues with it at all. Doesn't bother me at all. If Lakeview had been doing weekly communion, we'd still be doing weekly communion. It just wasn't an issue that I thought, this needs to change. We were on a monthly cycle, and that seemed to work well for us. I think you can argue one way or the other, and I'm good. Not a hill I'm going to die on, but I'm good either way.
See, we do communion like after the worship set, before the sermon. We have our prayer time is before the sermon, and so our communion is in between prayer. We have like an extended time of prayer before the sermon each week, and so our communion is right before that. And then we have people come up or to the front of the room or to the back of the room to receive the elements, and then we have our elders serve them. So I was wondering if you guys, especially in this new world where you're not a part of a denomination anymore, not that you are following the denomination, I don't want to say standards, but typically you need someone with the right credentialing within the covenant church to serve or to preside over communion, I think is the way that the language is used. So you do not have, so for us, it's our elders that can serve communion. But again, we're standing kind of behind a table, and this is the body of Christ broken for you. The blood of Christ shed for you is hopefully said to each person as they come and receive the elements. Whereas for you, it's end of the sermon.
Yep, all together, and I'll say the words of institution just like you did, and we'll all take the bread together. We'll all take the cup together.
1 Corinthians 11.
Yeah.
What do you?
1 Corinthians 11. Yep.
Yeah, I might pull from Luke a couple of times a year just to change
Every now and then. Yep, every now and then. But for the most part, 1 Corinthians 11, that's my go-to. And I'll always have like a 50 to 75 word intro that I like to change up from time to time. That way it just keeps communion fresh. Now, if we were doing communion weekly, I don't think I would be doing that. I would probably have an elder. We'd probably rotate that. That wouldn't be built into the sermon. That would be a separate part of the service. I think that would just be a very different animal. And plus, the idea of 600 people, 3 service. Yeah. It's just like the logistical nightmare of that. Now, your one service, I get it, but like logistical nightmare on a weekly basis. We could do it, sure. It would just require it would be possibly a part-time staff position just to oversee that aspect of every week's service.
Yeah. So if you are not preaching on the first Sunday of the month, is whoever is preaching responsible for ushering that moment in?
Typically, yes. There have been times where I've asked an elder, or I've been in town, I just wasn't preaching and I did it. But typically, yes. If the preacher is comfortable, and I'll talk to them in advance. Usually, they're good with it, because for a while it was just Frank, so Frank's always good with it.
But Todd was last month, 4th of July weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he was good. Actually, you know what? Frank was in town. That's right. Frank was doing a Cross and Crown update, so Frank did that. I took that one off of Todd, so we didn't have to worry about that. So Frank was able to do that for us. So it just varies.
For all of the things that we talk about, there are times that I don't even think about them until we're putting together the notes for, hey, what should we talk about today? And that was one of those things where it was like, hey, I'm curious in the new denominationally free Lakeview, or interdenominational Lakeview might be a better phrase.
Matt's got so this is like the classic argument here, and I've gone back and forth with our buddies. So
it makes more sense if you're flexed like that when you're making the argument.
Of course it does, Matt. I'm point of order. Didn't Jesus say, each time you do this in remembrance of me? So we should spiritually do it every meal. Andrew, thoughts on that?
I don't think that's what Jesus was saying. If that could be made, he could have been just speaking of the Passover meal, if it was the specific meal that he was referencing. I think it is whenever you are taking communion, which the early church took to mean each and every week. And so communion was something that they did each and every week, and there was a meal incorporated with it, but it wasn't breakfast on Tuesday was not done in that way. I think there's very much a corporate worship command associated with communion, not just every time you eat, you should be remembering Jesus in this way.
But I think people have gotten confused here, and they've thought, so every time we gather, in whatever shape or form, we should be doing communion in some way, shape, or form. And I don't think that was the intention behind communion ever.
I don't think so either, but I would never argue against a weekly taking of communion.
I've got no issues with it, but I also wouldn't die on the hill and go so far as to say, well, you're unbiblical or you're sinful in some way because you're not doing it every single week.
I've been in churches that were once a quarter communion. I think that's
a good Baptist. That's like what we were.
Most spread out. Also, it was once a quarter, and then the church that I spent most of my time growing up in,
Sunday night,
we were once a month, but Sunday night. So only the real ones.
You were Christian.
Any of those visitors.
Yeah. No. This was 2.0 Christianity. If you wanted to take communion, you came back to Sunday night church, and ours was once a quarter, and that's when we did it. And it was a Sunday night, once a quarter. It was a big deal, and there weren't a lot of us in the room, but we knew who the real Christians were. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Also, when we were done, we held hands and sang "Blessed be the tie that binds," and so that was like that was the Sunday that you wanted to sit by the youth group crush, like, I'm just happy to sit here, because then you were going to get to hold hands after communion. So that was always.
I want a bunch of not to start a fight and then just say something that's very controversial. We'll just get a whole list of those together.
Oh, CJ. Oh, you can check CJ out at Love Chapel. The most
Jerry says, note to self, don't start a comment with not starting a fight.
Timmy, as we've been talking, I keep when you see me keep looking over here, our preschool is literally moving out as we speak.
So crazy. It's been a staple.
It's crazy. It's been
little what is it? Little Scholars, what is it called?
Safety Harbor Little School, which is
Little
clever
School.
because we have Safety Harbor Middle School a few blocks away.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So they're moving out, which it's sad, but it's going to be good. We've got people already interested in the space, which is kind of weird and exciting because we haven't advertised anywhere. We've just had some people reach out and be like, "So I heard a rumor that there might be some space available." But Timmy, we've got so much space available. I mean,
and it's prime. It's ready to move in.
You're going to have to do a walkthrough with me. You haven't been in some of those rooms in.
Well, I've thought about setting up
an
office in one of those spaces. I'm going to be on that side of town a bunch. You're 10 minutes from my kids' high school. I might need to just,
The preschool director was like, "Hey, can I leave a lot of my office furniture
Steph,
like this?" Because
not appropriate. She loved Sunday night church for a very different reason. It was the best. And look, it was an excuse for we got to see each other. Usually, if you're at church, of course you can hang out. So we would always go to Sunday night church.
What parent would ground you from church?
Also, they didn't do a good job of closing off the balcony. You could easily get by that.
I'm
just going to, yeah.
I don't need to hear this, Tim. I'm disturbed. So
you've got a lot of space.
That is that there's a lot of space. Tim, there's an office room that's going to have some office furniture left in it. And when we were joking around what to do, I'm like, "Hey, permanent podcast studio." So I don't have to, pivot my desk. I don't think it's going to be used for that. But Timmy, there's some space you'll have to take a look at. One of the rooms is already cleared out, and it's got the old school stick-on tile floor from when this building was built. So it's so echoey right now. We're going to have choir practice in there. Can't wait.
I love it.
We'd have to have a choir. So yeah, you'll have to come check it out.
Hopefully, my schedule will allow it real soon. These last couple of weeks, just knowing that I'm getting to football practice today at 3:00, 10 minutes away. I didn't want to make that drive, come back, and then go back.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you one little bit. But you do realize that we haven't actually seen each other in person.
I know.
Since your ordination service in June, we went all of July without physically being in the same room. It's probably the first time since 2011 that we haven't been in the same room in a whole month. Ooh.
Jerry's head to a second premarital session of the day, chapter 7. Stephanie says
the best chapter.
Steph says chapter 7 is my favorite. It happens to be my fave as well. One of the greatest. What? No, Andrew. That's good. Not gross.
Gross.
In the bounds of marriage, it is a good Andrew. Not trying to start a fight.
Listen, Tim,
are you snacking? What are you doing? What is it?
No, I'm getting a mint.
I thought there was a bag of chips back there.
No, these are Mentos Clean Breath mints. Not a sponsor of the show. They could be. It is my favorite mint. I buy them in
Now I'm hungry.
And yeah, my coffee breath is encroaching on lunchtime.
Yeah.
And so, Timmy, it's 12:15. This is what happens when we get a late start. Not because we were talking about a conference that may or may not be happening in February in Tarpon Springs, Florida. So mark your calendars. But it's 12:15. It's time to go.
You got stuff to do. You've got places to go. And just as we close this out, CJ has one last comment for us. Started 1 Corinthians yesterday. Going to watch all of Tim's sermons on that topic. CJ, I'll do you one better.
He'll send them to you.
In about 10 minutes in your inbox, you will have a manuscript from every 1 Corinthians sermon.
You'll have a Dropbox file.
You'll have them all.
How many sermons was 1 Corinthians? 35, 36, something like that?
Sounds right. That sounds right.
It's the better part of a year.
Great. Steph says Zoe just made pancakes, for breakfast because they just got up. Again, teenagers in the house. They literally got up at noon. That's my life.
Now, my kids were up early because our big dumb dog that we adopted from Arkansas is terrified of thunder. And so he was crying in his crate because my wife got up and fed them before she went to school this morning. And when he got put back in his pen, but my dog is allowed to sleep in my room, he was lonely and scared of the thunder. So he woke up my children.
Andrew,
dumb dog.
Let's put a pin on this because next week I do have two things. One thing that I wanted to ask you about because I did something yesterday that I don't want to talk about it now, but I had some illustrations that I were on the fence about. It involved two of my kids in two different stories, and I did not warn them. So you can think on this week. But have you shared some illustrations that may or may not involve your own family? And do you typically give them a heads up, or do you just watch? Do you watch for their reaction because they're like, "Oh no, he's going to talk about a kid. Which kid is it?"
I told my son while Shirley was praying, we have the longer prayer before our sermon. So as she was praying, I was like whispering, "Hey, by the way, I have an illustration about you that's opening the sermon." And so as soon as I started,
so you gave him a 10-second heads up.
He runs. He's back helping run the live stream, and so I can see him. And he just went and shut himself in the bathroom until the illustration was done, and then he came out.
Yeah, that's the best.
He's fine with it as long as no one's looking at him. All right, next week.
We'll talk about next week. All right.
Embarrassing your kid. Can't wait to see you there. Bye,
It's gonna be beautiful. See ya.